Welcome to InformOverload, the show where we take the top trending topics on the internet and then make them more entertaining. Back with the 2cam. I'm your host Johnny Rogers, aka the Bacon Overlord, and to never miss another exciting video, click that subscribe button and ring the bell to join our notification squad. Plus, leave us a comment down below with your thoughts on vaping, and while you do that, let's dive into today's breaking news story. Vaping, e-cigs, Juul, all of these have now become very commonplace ways to receive your nicotine, but the company selling you this new e-cigarette may be lying about its health benefits. We know that when you spark up a cigarette, it creates more than 7,000 chemicals, some of which are well documented in causing cancer. E-cigs work in a similar method, except instead they heat a solution, which is also referred to as vape juice. Gross. It's also what creates those obnoxiously smelly clouds of vapor around men in fedoras. The US Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration claims that these solutions or additives are generally safe for consumption. What? Although that being said, don't do that. Just don't. However, oddly enough, that doesn't necessarily mean that they are safe to inhale, which is the centering point of interest and discovery for this video. With something like cigarettes, we've had literally decades to study its effects, but because vaping is so new, we had to wait until the dangers revealed themselves. Breathing the chemicals found in vapes has different effects than what the FDA first approved it for. They approved it for eating, oddly enough, but what does breathing this vapor in do to our body? Studies so far have confirmed that when these substances are heated, they will eventually lead to irritation or even inflammation in your lungs. Those may sound unassuming, but these are actually the first steps to what could potentially become lung or throat cancer. As for the nicotine found in these products, well, the companies are using something called nicotine salts, which is just a very concentrated form of the highly addictive drug. One Juul pod is the equivalent to an entire pack of cigarettes. A new report from the Center for Disease Control is also finding that some of the vapor being created in these e-cigs are laced with heavy metals such as nickel and lead, all of which you're inhaling and then absorbing into your bloodstream. That can't be good. A new study published in the American Journal of Preventive Medicine may become one of the first research findings that examined a link between long-term e-cig use and respiratory disease. Even the researchers were shocked that they were able to find evidence on lung disease this early on. Stanton Glantz, the senior author of the study and director of the University of California with the San Francisco Center for Tobacco Control, said in a statement to CNN, "I was a little surprised that we could find evidence on incident lung disease in the long-term study, because 3 years is a while, but most studies that look at the development of lung disease go over 10 to 20 years, adding, "It's the first study in the general population to link e-cigs with chronic lung disease. My guess is that if we were to come back and do this study in another 5 years, we would probably find bigger effects." The published study analyzed data from 32,320 adults in the US that were diagnosed with some type of respiratory condition by a healthcare professional. If you happen to be of the small minority as well that smoke cigarettes as well as e-cigs, you have greatly multiplied the risks of smoking. We now know that the odds of developing lung disease if you are an e-cig user has increased by a factor of 1.3, and if you are a dual smoker, it's a factor of 3.3. Now, it's important to note that this study still does have some limitations because of how early we are in the stages of understanding its effects. The study was also based on data from adults doing self-reports with their smoking habits, so that tends to have a biased recollection of memory. But Dr. Maria Romander, who is a pediatrician and medical director for the Substance Use and Prevention Program at Ann and Robert H. Lurie Children's Hospital of Chicago, said, "We have no idea what they do once they're heated up and broken down into their byproducts, and what effect those have, especially when they're broken down into teeny tiny ultrafine particles that can go into deep parts of the lung." Which, when you put it like that, just makes it sound even more terrifying. Nonetheless, even with the study still being in its infancy, we can expect that more studies will be released within the next 5 years that don't make vaping look like the healthy alternative to smoking that it claimed to be. It may just end up being an equally destructive form of nicotine consumption. With that said though, we want to hear from you, so leave us a comment down below with your thoughts on vaping. Has it helped anyone you know quit smoking cigarettes, or has it made it more addictive for them? Like, are they just doing both now? I always say that it just brought back smoking indoors. I mean, I can't count the number of times that I've seen someone just hitting a Juul while in a restaurant. Now, while you type your answers to that question of the day in the comments below, let's check out some of your previous comments from the video titled Top 10 Biggest Influencer Fails Caught on Camera. Ooh, this one was my favorite to do. Valair says, "Don't you dare compare flossing to the Macarena." I said it, and I stand by it. Confessions with Me says, I had no clue who Chair Girl was before this. Who else? I'm happy to hear that actually. She was huge in Canada and thank goodness her name did not make it anywhere else. Lori Love says, when you have a name like Johnny Rogers, you should have to dress like a pirate. Ouch. You're thinking of Jolly Roger, but I see why you'd think that, maybe, I guess. 2 Catch It says, every time Johnny laughs at himself, it reminds me that people need to not take themselves so seriously. Hey, welcome to my life. If you just laugh at yourself, nothing will bother you. Or you'll look like a crazy person. I'm a crazy person. Karina Otero says, love the IO. I don't know how your videos got into my feed, but I am a fan now. Much love from Mexico. That, my friend, is the power of the YouTube algorithm. Much love to Mexico and thanks for being a fan. And thank you for watching InformOverload. If you enjoyed this video, then show us some love here by tapping that like and subscribe button. Also, make sure you give us a follow on Instagram for tons of behind the scenes content. Links for that will be in the description down below. Plus, while you're there, leave us a comment down below with your thoughts on this story. From IO, my name is Johnny Rogers, and until next time, take care. You know what that means. I'm your host, Johnny Rogers, aka the Bacon King. Oh, I'm Bacon Overlord now. I forgot that. Oh, I forgot. We gotta stay true. Stay true to the name, son.